Peace Collective, let's get into it. You are in a very fertile season of your life. This is the message from the divine today. And I pulled some cards, so we're going to get right into it. The first card that came out is the universe. All right. This card has come out in prior readings. I feel like this is the universe shining on you, you allowing the sun to ultimately bless you, shine on you, allowing yourself to feel the warmth, right? Life has been very cold to this particular being that I'm speaking to in the past, right? And you've decided to just strip the heaviness. You decided to align with the good. You decided to align with ultimately was meant for you. This was not an easy process, okay? And you are choosing to believe in this. I don't even want to call it a delusion, right? It may feel like a delusion to you in a certain kind of way. It may even seem delusional to other people around, but you know that you were meant for something very specific. There's like this feeling that you cannot escape. These imprints, okay, that have been imprinted into your soul. And you've decided, right, through this journey, these little glimpses that you've been given into these imprints, that you are going to follow the road that's been mapped out for you by the divine. Okay. And in this, you haven't necessarily known how it's going to look, what ultimately how it's going to pan out. But you've just been trusting this journey, and trust me, the journey you've been on has required some trust. Now, so for the universe to come out to me, this is, the word that's sticking out to me in this card is like enduring. You've endured this journey, and now the universe is embracing you. The universe is allowing you. Look, the next card that came out, or the next, not the next card, the next word that came out was creative force, allowing you to co-create your reality. Because again, I do believe that there's destiny involved in all of this, right? But you've been aligning with destiny by aligning with the heart of your call. I mean, yeah, the call of your heart. I said that backwards. Y'all know what I mean. Next card that came out was Mirror. And I feel like for it to be next to um the universe, it literally to me speaks and symbolizes of the universe reflecting back our energy back to us, right? So a lot of you have not necessarily experienced the world reflecting your energy back to you. This is the season where now you are going to see the heart that you truly have. You're going to see yourself, with the gifts of wisdom, okay, that you ultimately have, and what you're meant to establish and bring into this world. And it's something really beautiful. It's something really profound. I feel like she's sitting in the mirror, or she's, standing in front of the mirror, and there's a bunch of lights. So I feel like this is speaking to the spotlight being put on you. You entering into a comfortable stage where now you're allowing, the spotlight to be put on you. But also it's an aspect of falling in love with yourself, right? Because one of the things with this aspect of us becoming magnetic and allowing ourselves to be in the spotlight is not because we're looking for adoration from other people. We're learning to finally see our worth. We're learning to realize, you know what, I am worthy of being in the spotlight. I am worthy. I'm in love with me, right? There's been a deep aspect of falling in love with yourself in this process, not from an egotistical standpoint, but actively seeing the beauty and the purity of the connection that you have with the divine. Okay. And in this has allowed you to ultimately come into beautiful aspects of self-worth, where you are no longer settling for what just presents itself to you as an option, right? You're using discernment of, okay, these are the people I want to be hanging around. These are the lessons that I want to be experiencing. I've gone through a beautiful level of refinement, and I've been speaking about this refinement process. But this refinement process is ultimately taking us to the refinement process that we got out of is taking us to another level of refinement. It's taking us into a refinement level of what we can achieve in success, our higher roads. How far can we go? How far we can access these roads? Um, I mean, not how far we can access these roads. I'm sorry, that came out backwards. How far we can go in these roads. We've already accessed them. They're here, right? The preface of it is like this is entering a new timeline, right? Whether you believe in timelines or not, this is just accessing a higher version of self, a higher version of living in a certain reality. Okay. The next card that came out was cat. Now, cat, this cat seems very disinterested. This is kind of the energy that you're sitting in, not necessarily disinterested in the higher timeline. You're just disinterested, right? This is to me speaking of discernment. This is to me speaking of this, and because the cat is surrounded, right? Ooh, okay. So hold on, I gotta show you. All right, the cat. The cat is black and white. All right, yin and yang. All right, divine feminine, divine masculine on a root chakra level, right? Because there's a whole bunch of red that's going on in there. To me, what this is symbolizing is that the cat is disinterested in anything that is uncomfortable and anything that is going to take them out of their peace. Okay, this is speaking to you. And you're, because you're in this particular stage of being disinterested from anything that is trying to steal your peace, that is trying to attach and be a burden, you are now allowing yourself to make wiser movements because and wiser decisions because you've fallen in love with yourself. And in falling in love with yourself, you set a standard, okay? And in setting that standard, you're allowing discernment and your heart to lead the way. See, you're no longer just flowing in compassion and getting involved with just anyone, okay? Because you're understanding that your peace was hard earned, okay? You're understanding that your gifts and the trials that you've been through, most people would not be able to survive the reawakening process that was designed for you. Okay. And in that, you are allowing your root chakra experience to now bring forth what is worthy of you, comfort. Okay. You're saying, you know what? Comfort is going to be my basic need. I'm going to need all my needs met. I'm aligning, and it's not from a standpoint of this is what I need, this is what I need, this is what I need. It's you're understanding what you are worthy of. You're understanding that struggle is not what you were meant to experience. And so if something is trying to bring you struggle, if something is trying to bring you distress, if something is trying to place you in a state of disarray, you are actively looking at it like the disinterested cat. Okay, that's very much looking at someone like they lost their mind for even trying it in the first place. See, you are in a very fertile season of your life at this moment. That means that you understand your ability in co creating with the divine. You understand what you have been co creating this entire time. And you are guarding that and you are treating it as precious as it genuinely is. And the next card that came out was flag. Okay, for it to be a number 6 to me speaks to the balance within. This flag is speaking to, you know, achievement, success. You've achieved a particular state within yourself, right? In order for the world to reflect to you, you've had to do the internal work within, and you have. So now your world is getting ready to ultimately blossom, okay, in unexpected ways, because you have not allowed your inner world to go to disarray. You've taken time, and this isn't something that just happened within a couple days, within a couple weeks, within a couple months, maybe even in a couple years. This is something that for a while you've been tending to your garden. You've been saying, okay, this isn't this, doesn't serve me. This, okay, this action or this behavioral coping mechanism that I've developed or, I've taken part in was developed and born from trauma. Okay, this hasn't served me, right? So you've gone through this process of pulling out the weeds, pulling out what doesn't serve you, right? What's been holding you back, what's been making it difficult for you to walk around and enjoy your own garden. Okay, so you've been toiling the land, right? I call our vessels the garden. This is how me and the shamanic elders that train me, right, speak to the vessel that we've been gifted by God. And so you've been towing at the garden, and you understand that there's going to constantly be moments of refining and planting seeds and watering and allowing that to bloom and make sure that nothing tries to come up, okay, in in your garden that is going to cause you to get trapped by weeds or stubble your toe on a rock, right? You want to be able to have a path clear, and you've made this path clear, right? So congratulations to you in your very fertile moment. All right. Now you've planted a lot of seeds. A lot of seeds are this time. Guys, it's time to bloom. All right. We got the sunflower. The sunflower again, and we got the universe in the first card. The universe is like the number 7, which is my lucky number. And then we have the sunflower, which, does ultimately bloom in the sunshine. All right. So this is, again, you being able to hold that light, not artificial light, but light, right? That, it's divine, the light that comes from God. And this is you not only blooming internally, but in blooming where now the world can see that bloom. Now, where those around you realize that you have something really beautiful, they realize you have something really powerful. Your energy is becoming very magnetic. Because guess what? When you walk past a flower, I mean, most people, if you got a heart, are going to stop and stare. I know for me, I'm going to want to stop and smell the flower. I'm appreciating the beauty that the flower has. I'm trying to bask in its essence. And you are as beautiful as this flower in your own unique way. And people are going to want to bask in your essence, in your wisdom, and the love and the light that you hold. Now, mind you, this is where you're using discernment. You're not just allowing anyone to bask in that energy, because what you cultivated is sacred. What you cultivated is precious and it needs to be protected. And you are the guardian at the door. You are the one who protects it first. Okay. And then you have your army behind you. You have your guardians, you have the angelics, you have, the spiritual team, the ancestors for the highest good, and so many more. And I do not do time messages. Okay. But this came up and I'm like, oh, so it's a one card. Now, mind you, a couple readings that I did, it went from 4, 2, and 1. And it's like, oh, it kept going at half, right? So it said, it's going to happen within a couple weeks, right? And then I did it a couple days ago. It said it's going to, I don't know, it happened within a couple, I don't even know if it was a couple days or something. I forget what it was. But this is saying it's happening now. So what this is telling me, okay, is that there has been alignments. You are allowing yourself to show up. So whether it's going to happen today, whether it's going to happen tomorrow, and I'm going to sit here and say, the next card that came up was happening within a few days. So to me, this is letting me know that energetically something is happening now. And for it to be a man and woman by a train station, and that train again be red, right? And they're laughing. This is divine feminine, divine masculine counterparts coming together and ultimately embracing each other, right? And I have been feeling, divine masculine, divine feminine energy. Um, and then for it to be where it's happening within a couple days, she looks like she's in a wedding gown, right? And it's it's letting it's letting me know that at this particular point in time, it's happening. It's in your energetic field. And this can happen at any particular point in time where that door to your new existence, your new reality, is going to be open wide for you, right? For some, it might be cracked open. However, you are going to see the embrace that people are um, going to be receiving you with, right? This is where it's going. Um, and I did pull some, tarot cards. The next card that came out was the Eight of Pentacles. This is, you've been working on your craft. You've been developing your skill for some time. And I remember when I first, um, started these services and started offering spiritual services, it was a process of refinement. I was going through my own journey. I was also, dealing with my traumas, right? And you've been working on this, and you just been busy working on yourself. And this is a beautiful thing because it's prepared you for business. It's prepared you for what's unfolding. Now, in this unfolding process, no, we have the 10 of swords. Okay. This is clearly someone is laying there dead. Um, And I'm all right. I was just checking in with Spirit. Spirit saying, talk about it. I had aspects of myself that last night were, aspects of wounded self, right? Because I haven't seen the world reflect back to me the light that I am, that I know that I am. And, you know, there were different aspects that were asking, this aspect of me to get on board because we're moving on regardless, whether she's on board or not. Understand that the wound itself is the wound itself, and the wound itself has gone through a lot of trauma in someone's life, right? And so this aspect, if it all it knows is trauma, it's very difficult for that aspect to move on. And so we're faced with these aspects where we're trying to rationalize, with a wounded aspect of ourselves that, with much respect, sometimes isn't even rational. Most of the time, it's not all the time. But we're moving on and we're choosing to head on the destined path, right? That's been imprinted on our soul by the divine, despite her feelings, or his feelings, and showing up regardless of fear, which is only false evidence appearing real, to actively see the truth. So you're moving on in faith, you know, and in that process, if she wasn't getting on board, there's death energy, and not necessarily death energy, because again, there's like death, and in death, there's like an ability for rest, right? But this part of you is no longer going to be at the forefront of your consciousness. This part of you is no longer going to be the one operating, right? Because you've moved past these fears. So this aspect has to let go. Either it has to do this integration, right, where it's going to rest and recover and rejuvenate willfully, or it's going to be ended. And in this, aspect of it being ended, it's going to have to be forced to rejuvenate. I've had visions and many different experiences of different aspects of myself where, you know, I've I've died to those aspects of my consciousness has have died, but they've also been taken by others, right? Like the ancestral sacred sisters, the ancestral sacred mothers, angelics, and that part of me is being restored on a different level, right? And so this is what I feel is happening is you've been working consciously, on self and on business, working on your craft, which is ultimately working on yourself. And there's in this death energy with the Ten of Swords, there's liberation that's taking place. Now we have the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles is someone that is very much abundant in business. This is definitely speaking to success coming into your life, right? Because you've been working on that craft, because you've been allowing those false aspects of self, right? Because the wounded aspect of self is the aspect that has, been there because of the traumas that you've experienced. But in our reality, it's not a true aspect of our, it's not in truth, to our essence of who we really are, right? So in this, you're coming back into the abundance with the King of Pentacles that is rightfully yours. And there's a bunch of like grapes, right? And grapes with wine. Okay. This is a time for celebration. This is a time for success. This is a time where, you know, um, you're allowing the abundance and fruitfulness that you have gained, that you have earned, that you have worked hard for. Okay. And I'm saying this in spirit, what you have gained, what you have worked hard for. It's now coming into your physical manifestation. It's coming into your reality. Now you can go out and forage, so to speak. Oh, great. There's a whole bunch of grapes in my garden. This I have mangoes, they're finally ripened, right? They're ready. They bloomed on the tree, avocados, apples, peaches, whatever you like, pineapples. I'm going to go get some tomatoes. I'm going to go get some cilantro, some jalapenos. You've crafted your garden and now you're saying, okay, I'm going after what I want. And the reason why I named all those like fruits and vegetables, and obviously the list can go on more, we got some cucumbers in there, is because you're going to have your choice, right? This is discernment. You know what? Today, my body's really craving these mangoes. I'm gonna have a mango after this message, by the way, too. Amazing. I do have some al tufo mangoes, champagne mangoes, okay? And in that you're no longer denying yourself the good in life and you're allowing yourself to sit in the position that's rightfully yours. The overarching card for this is Six of Pentacles. Now, this is fruitfulness. I don't feel like this is, again, Six of Pentacles, giving your money away or your abundance away. this is you showing being, and I've spoken to this recently. It's about you being the pathway shower, showing people that ultimately in authenticity and following what you love and discovering yourself and discovering the different aspects of self and the depths of self, you are now allowing yourself to show people who, and oof, you're showing people. Sorry, because this card is speaking to me. Um, how you can align with your magnetics, right? Because we have, so obviously you have someone in the red, which is speaking to a beautiful and abundant root chakra. You have someone in orange. Orange speaks to the sacral chakra. It speaks to, especially for women, the sacral chakra is very important. It's important for men too. But the sacral chakra speaks to the creation of life, right? So it's not about you giving your abundance away. It's about showing people how they can clear out their womb, how they can align their magnetics, right? To ultimately bring to them the things that they desire, right? Through honoring self, through honoring divinity, through honoring their gifts. You also have someone in a baby blue, um, in a baby blue kind of robe. And baby blue speaks to the throat chakra, right? So the throat chakra, you're teaching people how to use their voice. And it's not necessarily using their voice with others, right? I do believe that that's a big part of it, but it's more so to use their voice with themselves, to honor themselves, right? To, um, for them to be able to listen to what their heart is trying to tell them, right? There's been a lot of like throat clearing that's been happening on the collective spectrum, especially for myself, right? Because I've gotten into a point where I'm now honoring my voice. And this isn't something that is just easy or something that um, happens, overnight, right? Especially when you have wounds that have never made you feel like, your voice, would be heard, like your emotions or your feelings have been validated. And all of this is happening again to let you know that you're in a very fertile season of your life. This is where your co creations, the things that you've been creating, are now going to start coming out to the forefront of the public, right? Where now you're going out there and you're no longer hiding your light. So, this is a very abundant time for you, collective. This is a very abundant time to pour into your creations, to continue to pour into yourself, to continue to craft the life that you ultimately desire. You are moving into a stage, collective, where you are now going to be the epitome of what abundance is, right? And showing people how to ultimately be able to attain this within themselves. Right? You are very fertile, and people, when they hear your story, they're going to be able to understand that this person that's speaking has overcome a lot. The person that's speaking has gained insights and wisdoms, and especially for y'all that are in the spiritual community that this applies to specifically. Your credentials, what you've gone through, is your credentials, right? What you've suffered, what you've overcome, is your credentials. We live in a society that doesn't necessarily make people feel, good enough if they haven't received a particular type of degree, right? Your experiences hold a lot more wisdom that any degree can ever give you, my dear. Understand that. Don't allow yourself to, you know, uh, don't allow anyone to play down your worth, because guess what? You are worthy. What you charge is worthy. Okay. Set your price at a adequate and fair price for the services. Your skill sets have been crafted and refined your entire life, my dear. This is the moment for you to show up for you. So thank you for listening to this message from me in spirit. You are very fertile, and take care in abundance.